Good morning. Welcome to ChartRoom. We are in our 6.0 filming, and I hope this blesses you today. What we're going to be covering today is cluster core analysis. And the concept for this part is essence. Okay, essence is getting at the heart of a matter. It's cutting through the noise and understanding something that's important in a price map. So I hope this one really helps you. This is going to be part A, and then we're going to be doing a unit 2 part B, and then after that we're going to be going into the rest of the unit, which is part 3. Okay, but this is lessons 5 from last week, lesson 6 for today. Okay, cluster core. Cluster core analysis has two primary functions. It is a way to identify important areas on a price chart by observing the central essence range of a price core within both energy types, round and peak, or round action and peak. It can also be combined with high-level core, HLC, and high-level round action as a standalone flat. Okay, so we'll be giving examples of both of these concepts. Okay, so basically what it is a way is finding the essence at a core in the central range of price. So we're actually going to be looking at a central range to try to find the most important core, and we can use that as an energy center, which can be used for an angle. So in the examples you'll see today, if we have an energy center where it's either round or a peak, it's a large energy center. What we're going to do is we're going to find the correct core, and I'll show you how to do it. It can also be used in the second part as a standalone flat, which means we can use it as high-level core flat or standalone. And in some ways it is high-level core, but this was a type of verification because it's not just a high level, it's a cluster. Now let's go on and I'll show you why. To perform this analysis, we must first locate the current energy center type, either round action, peak, or a potential future vortex or other possible reversal areas. We can use this preemptively in the future and look for that analysis as it's forming, so we know where to look for this, and we see a lot of examples of that, and we can show one on USDT.D, the most recent, where price gets squashed into that area. We can look at that one, but I'm going to primarily focus on the top two, which is round action and peak, because they already exist, and then we can use those for the rest of our analysis. So that's the first thing we need to do. First, identify basically an energy center or future area. Next, we're going to use the highest candle core in that area on the highest time frame with the candle close. Okay, and the reason we're going to choose that, so we're going to look on a time frame like a monthly chart. We're going to start there, or a 2-month chart, but we want to make sure that that monthly chart is closed, because if the month is still happening, it may not give us the correct data. We want some candle that has already closed when using this primarily. Okay. There are exceptions to the rule, but as a general rule, we want to use candles that are already closed. We're going to mark that area, the core of that area, with the flat tool, okay? And we can use a price label. You may wish to label this score and choose any blue color. So we may use a blue color for the flat line, or we can use any kind of label, and we're going to do that. All right. So when it comes to the time, we're going to go to the next time frame, cutting the time in half, marking this time, and then repeating the process. So we're just going to mark the time. Okay, monthly to a 2-week, 2-week to a 1-week, 1-week to a 2-day, 2-day to a 1-day, 12 to a 6. As a easy order of strength reference, we have 3 months being the strongest, 2, 1, 2-week, 1-week, 2-day, 1-day. Okay, and then 12, 6, cut the time to 3 or 4, and then 2 hour, and then 1 hour. We can observe that there are many times when we might miss one or more important core areas because we might be focusing on one time frame alone, whether we're focusing on that monthly or that weekly or that daily. So by performing the core cluster analysis, we can paint a better picture of the essence of what price is actually telling us, helping us understand where to look. Okay, so now let's go over some live examples and I'll show you what I mean. Our first example is going to be from XRP. Okay, we're going to look on April of 2021 for XRP. So let's use fresh chart. I'm going to use Binance. Sorry, let's use KuCoin. And we'll start with a monthly look. All right, so we're going to do Core Cluster in April 2021, which is the peak. Now, if this is what we have as a monthly chart, we can draw our price flow and say, hey, that's a peak here. That's going to be an energy center. Okay, we might say it might be around, and that's essence. And that's fine, but let's look to help us identify this area a little bit better. We're going to use this technique to help us find the core essence or the core cluster. So let's perform it in real life. So starting with April, starting with that energy center, if we were drawing the core, we're going to put, in this case, I'm going to put a price label right there, okay? Approximately where the core of this area is. The core of this top peak, it's around $1.59 for XRP for that month, April 2021 month. If I now go and cut the time in half to a 2-week chart, I'm going to duplicate this price label by clicking these 3 dots, and now I have a 2-week chart. Okay. If I wanted to, I can click on that first one and click the text button. So I'm going to double click on that first one, the text button, and type in 1M for 1 month. So I know. The next one I can type in 2W for 2 week. Okay, so if you want to label them, this is a way to keep track. Otherwise, you can just stretch one out farther, that's the highest, move to the next highest by moving this one a little bit closer. Now we're going to go to a 1-week chart in that same area. And if you don't see anything, move your finger around, right? And then you'll find it. I'm going to borrow this 2-week one, put it again at the core, change the text, hitting the text button. If you don't see that text and it's just default to style, hit the text button, click on that, and then it's going to show you the place where you can type that in. This I'm going to type in 1W. And then we're going to now cut this to the 2-day. It again. Here, the highest core in this area is $1.83 for the 2-day. 2D. Click OK. Go to a 1-day. We're just repeating. Very simple, right? Very simple. And I'm going to show you, then we're going to make our observations. All right. And then finally, 2-day, 1 day is the same area. 1 day. All right. One other thing, we started with 1 month, 1 week, 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 days, 1 day. Let's go to 2 months. Might be one just higher than a month, and then we're gonna talk about our observation. We'll stop there. Okay. We're going to put 2M. All right, now we're done. All right, so let's go back down and say we're drawing on a daily chart. Say we're looking on the daily chart. If I were to ask you to draw the trend line, approximately where it would be, and I'm going to use a rectangle, we're first going to, if I were to ask you to just draw the trend line in that area, without performing this analysis, we would easily be tempted to only draw that area right there, which is the one area we identified on the daily chart. But what we can actually find is that a majority of the move was somewhere in this area. Now that might be hidden from us, and therefore we might miss that when drawing the energy center, it's actually not this area here, but rather here. So when connecting these sections from here and here, these two energy centers, we would actually be drawing the line more closely to maybe something like that, rather than something like that, or from these wicks even. Now these lines might be important, but it may be that the more important area or line is here. Now we would want to perform CC core cluster on this area to identify the exact area, but that's going to start helping us to identify where to draw our lines in a more powerful way. Okay, let me show you what I mean and how we can use this in real life, by the way. So I'm going to unhide this. If we look at core cluster, we identified many of these charts were all talking about these price zones. 161, 159, 153, 155, and only the daily and 2-day were way up there. So if we were really drawing to mark that, we can just mark the highest one and lowest one in a range like that. Okay? There's the highest, there's the lowest in the range. And we can mark this as a standalone energy center. Or sorry, we can mark that as an energy center. Or we can mark it as a standalone flat by just drawing the blue flat range. Okay? Remember, we're going to use the highest candle core in the area on the time frame. Start that. Mark the area with the rectangle tool, or you can label it like we just labeled and we marked. We move on to the next lowest time frame. We repeat the process and then continue. Then we can make our observations. We can use this at round action energy center type or peak energy center type. Remember, in this case, on the highest time frame, it is peak action. Okay? This is a peak. This is a round energy. Okay? I'm going to take a picture, screenshot, how we can use this. Okay, so now that we have identified this, it's one thing that some people say, I'll just use the weekly time frame and that's it. That's not always it, because sometimes even the weekly is off. But in this case, when we see a majority of the candles at this area, it helps us bypass the noise. We can look in hindsight and say, on this weekly chart, these two are just the exception to the rule, and the essence is there anyway, and you would be correct. Okay? You would be correct. A lot of times, the higher time frames are going to have that built into it, but not every time. And we may see some examples of that. So again, if I was going to draw this energy center or any lines connecting maybe this angle, I wouldn't connect it up here. I would connect it down there a little bit. So that angle is much different, right? If I connect it down here to this core, it can give me some more information. And I can stretch that out to those cores and to those wicks. But I'm starting here at that core. If I stretch this out a little bit further, it's going to get me a much better response when I'm looking for verification. Okay, does this make sense? How to perform this analysis? We're going to do some live examples. Let's label this. In this example, we can see the 1 month, 2 month, 2 week, and 1 week core cluster area. We marked this area range in blue. Okay? So that's how we can do that. This area is not included. Got it? Alright, let's go over another example. We're going to use ETN. Lisa, we'll probably use that as an example. CVT. let's go to... Oh, by the way, just before we continue on, when you have the essence, you have a more accurate angle by which you can use for your key angle family to identify projections, to identify your phantoms, just the standard. If I were taking this angle, I want to duplicate this at the core in this area, and it's right here. But if we were doing core cluster, let's perform that and see if it gives us any other response or answer. Okay, let's do core cluster. Let's start on that 2-month chart in that area. See if it can give us anything good. Okay, on a 2-month chart, there is no bottom here. It's just that candle. On a 1-month chart, there it is. It's just 2 candles. That's all it really is in that area. 69 cents. 2-week chart, it's lower. 59 cents. 58. 1-week chart, let's label those, by the way. 2-week, 1 month, 1 week, 2-day, 55 cents. Sorry, 2-day, 1 day. This is a simple analysis anyone can do. The lowest core in that area? Yep. 1 day. Alright. So where's our core cluster? I would say it's approximately from this side all the way to there. Okay, this is our lowest one. This is our highest one in this area. Okay, along that path. You can just draw a bunch of flat lines if you want to, but it's just easier to mark them with dots using the price range tool. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the price label tool. Now it's already in my favorites. If you haven't done this before, it's going to be an annotation. So go over all the way down to annotation and then slide over the one that says price label, price note. That's how I'm doing this. The other one we're using is geometric shapes rectangle, and then I make my rectangle blue. So now I have the flat range. Now I can use that as a flat, and in this case I have verification in the flat past. We can use this as a flat. We can also use this as an energy center, but it's an energy center range. Okay, I'll show you what this looks like for XRP. As a flat, they can be powerful. Okay, let's add that to the image. A flat CC can be powerful and used to identify the correct range. Okay, does it make sense? You're glad I include this in Sword Method 6.0, right? It can help you find more of the essence of where you should be looking in that whole range. Should we be looking here? Should we be looking here? If you identify the range, you can get a little bit better. We can actually see, hey, it's bouncing on top. But it never got that low, right? It never got this low. The core cluster is a range. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 somewhere over here. I need to put, if you can't see your lines anymore, click on your rectangle, click the 3 dots up there. See these 3 dots on this toolbar? And then click on visual order, send to back. Okay, and then now all of your stuff should show up. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One of those for the monthly was up here. So if we were doing this in real life, if we only did high level core and said the monthly flat is way up here, so we need to be looking up here, but the cluster, the majority of the time frames, they're all there. So this one would be wrong. If we were drawing our flat there, we might miss some of the movements. Now monthly was strong. We had a little bounce, but this bounce was much stronger. Okay, look how much stronger it was proportionately. Make sense? Make sense? Yeah? Yeah? Is that good? Is this hard analysis so far? We'll do a few more examples. Okay. Now, if we're drawing these areas already, now I have the centralization of that energy center. I want to make sure I'm passing through that area, not this area. If I was only drawing on the monthly chart and the monthly angle was here, I might come like this. But if I know where the cluster's at, I'm going to find a more accurate trend line. Now, I'm not saying with the monthly you won't see any energy. I'm not saying that. But you're going to find a more accurate trend line and therefore identify your weaknesses a little bit more better. Okay? Because you're identifying these really powerful areas. Where's that star? There we go. Okay? The cluster. Core cluster. Okay, let's look at ETN to help us find. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you something else. So now we identified a strong key angle. If we were looking to place it on the bottom, I want to place it in that blue range. Okay, we want to place it somewhere in the blue range. Up top or at the bottom. And so now no matter what time frame we're looking at, whether it's a daily, weekly, monthly, we have a better accurate representation of where, as a key angle, we're using this. So this is how we can improve efficiency regarding our key angles using the core cluster technique added to Sword Method 6.0. In this case, we have this point right here, which is verification, a bounce in this area. And then we got another bounce in this area. And then the essence of what's happening here is also in this range. Sometimes it's on top, sometimes it's on bottom. But we know the range by which we look because we have core cluster. That's a core cluster phantom. Meaning we had this angle acting like that. And in addition to the CC flat, because this is the CC flat, we can use our key angle that we had. Here's the key angle, RKA, and here's our phantom. So where do we place our key angles? Where do we place our phantom? Using CC, we can now advance to a higher degree of sword method. It's exciting? Yeah? Okay. Let's look at the next area. We're going to look at ETN. Aren't you glad you came today? You guys can practice this right away. Okay. Let's see, where was my example? We were going to use, what date was that? September 21. And I think we wanted to use the round action. Okay. Up September 2021, here's another example from ETN. If I'm starting on a daily chart, you don't really have to go in any specific order, but you do need to go in some specific sequence. Okay, so I can start on a daily chart and move up. As I said before in the lesson, here's the reference. Okay, or use this example on the bottom. So we can use that as our guide for us during the lesson. If I start at a daily chart, just say I started a daily, I'm going to place my price note at the core on the daily chart, and then we can label it 1 day. But if I'm on 1 day, I want to move higher, right? Let me delete this. Okay. So I got 1 day. Let's make these words a little bit bold so you guys can see it for the lesson a little bit better. Okay, 1 day. And I'm going to move to the next highest one, which is 2 day. On a 2-day chart, I'm going to find the highest core in that area, and it's going to be approximately 0.24 cents. And I'm going to label that today. From here, where do I go? Somebody tell me. What's the next one? Nobody? Nobody knows the answer? Oh, man. I need to be a better teacher. The answer is 1 week. Okay. We're going to borrow this one here. The highest core in that area, right here. And I'm going to label it 1 week, or 1W. Okay. Hold on. Size 20. Okay. Now, from here, I go to 2 week, next highest, and it's here. We're almost done. Bold, 2 week. Okay. Now, we're going to go to 1 month, and then 2 month. We'll borrow this one up here. M, capital, and 2 month. Okay? If I did one more, it would be a 3 month. Alright, let's go to a daily chart and talk about what we observe. Alright, ready? I need class participation on this one. You're going to help us identify ETN. We got numbers all over the place for this one. Wait, let's go to weekly chart to simplify things. I got numbers all over the place for this one. I got numbers as low as 0.14 on a 2 month. I got numbers as high as 0.026 on a daily chart. I got numbers around 0.24, 2.3, 2.2, 2.1, 2.1. What observations can we meet? When drawing an energy center, which ones are we primarily going to be using? Because I have so many clusters, I can see they're all in this area. Let me move that one to the side. 0.2414. Alright. We're going to label this area up here. That is our core cluster. If we're drawing our flat, that's going to be our flat. If ETN ever gets back to these areas, I'm going to be concerned. Now, very interesting. If I'm only looking at a two-month chart, I'm going to notice this area here. I won't see it. Look, let's go back to that 2-month chart. I'll be thinking to myself, that's where we have to draw. We need to draw the energy center there. But I may miss out on the true range that I can observe maybe from the 1-month chart. You see the dilemma? The actual area we need to is going to be more stronger where there's a lot of clusters of the flat core. The core cluster. It's actually closer to this price up here in blue, not this price down here. As a flat, I can tell you we're probably going to have a big deal of importance in that area in the future. If ETN reaches, and I'll give you the price, 0.021 to 0.026. Currently, ETN is at 0.025, really low. And price would need to rise 760%. 770%. But if it does, you may see there's where profit taking is happening. In addition, if we see price break above that area and go up, that would be actually new structure, new behavior. And you wouldn't know that if you had not performed the core clustering, because it's going to help you get a stronger flat. Now, you may just do it by just picking one time frame and say, we're just going to use the highest time frame in the flat. But if we did it, as I showed you guys on the 2-month chart, that number may actually be a lot lower. And you may not see that behavior happening. Does that make sense? Okay. So we can use that as a standalone flat, or we can use that as just the energy center by which we are going to draw our angles at. So we want to draw our angles from there. Now, if we were to do this again, On the top side, up here, let's start and do the same analysis to find out where we're going to draw these lines at. So if I start at a 2-month chart, I might draw one here at the core. In this case, it's going to be 33 cents. Okay. Let me delete those for just right now. And let's give this 2M. Is it a little tedious? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, here's our 2-monthly chart. Let's go to a 1-month chart. Oh, look at that. The next one is way up here. Let me borrow this. Now we can label this 1 month. And then we're going to go to 2 week. Oh, it's even higher. What do you say about that? Let's go to here. 2 week. 1 week. Same deal. And finally 1 day. So now we're left with some prices. We got a 2-month. Where's our 2-month again? Oh, I lost it. Oh, it was way down here. Okay. We got a 2-month way down there. And the majority of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are all up here. Does this negate the power of this 2-month chart? Not necessarily. It means there was a lot of pressure during that time. But most of that month can be attributed just to this single area. We'd want to perform the flats analysis to see if flats are at work. In the past, it could be important to us. In this case, it was important to us. Here in that area. Okay? Maybe here. Maybe even here at the opening. So is there verification for this in the past? Yes. Yes, there is. Is it a place we might be concerned with possibly taking some profit on ETN in the future? Yes. Yes, it is. Is it a place we want to label? Possibly. So therefore, we double click on our line on that flat, 0.0065 and 0.0 to 0078. So we may be concerned with that area. Just like we want to be concerned with the 028. So now we identified 2 important areas. What's left? Let's connect the dots. Where? At the core clusters. Now once we have all of these, we can actually, move this to the back, delete. Why am I not seeing, why is this all in the back? Okay, yeah. We can actually delete all of our labels that we use. They're just like placeholders. Okay, we can delete these. I'm gonna just mark a few places here just for the image notes. CC. This is the range. Actually, this is the range. It acts like the energy center in this area. Okay. The energy center here and here. Acts like a large range. So again, we got the large energy centers. They're just giant energy centers, and they're also flats. Let's add the text. Reminder. Core cluster acts like a more correct energy center and a flat. However, always perform flat analysis, and that's why it's included in this unit, to confirm if flats are active. Okay, if you don't have anything, that's not saying it won't work, but it's more likely it's going to work when you have observed flats already working, like in this case. So if I see flats already working here, in the past I said, yeah, we got some verification of this flat. Therefore, I'm going to pay attention to the flats in the future in those areas, above and below. Okay, so now the last thing we need to do on this, after we delete this, can anybody tell me what I might want to do now that I have a more accurate range? Not that one. Anybody? What I might want to do next? Put it in the chat, please, or unmute your microphone. Oh, you know what? You guys are blocked from muting. I'm so sorry. Try again. It wouldn't let you guys unmute. I don't know why. Maybe that's why we didn't get any responses. Okay, I fixed that. All right, what might I want to do now that I performed a correct CC here and CC here for this map? And then I'll use another example. Okay, if you're being asked, or you're looking at this chart for ETN, we identified the core cluster being here primarily and here. What's next? Okay, the answer is to draw a line between them two. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the center of that core approximately, and maybe the center of this core, and now I have a more accurate angle. If I was to draw, this would be my new key angle. And I can put it in the middle if I wanted. I can now duplicate that line and turn it into a phantom, a PA, and bring it down to the lower energy center. And now I have a more accurate response. Look. Here's the core here. Here's some wicks. 1, 2, 3 in that area. Somewhere along here. Now I'd want to use this and identify a more accurate core cluster, and that could get me a better response too. But I'm not going to do that right now because we're going to move on to some other cryptos. But we can use that. But other than that, it's just the phantom now. Okay? And it gives you a more proper or accurate response on all time frames. Okay? Not saying we're not going to go above and have those exceptions, but when you understand core cluster, you get a more accurate energy center which you can use to read the flow of price much better. Now I know with a higher degree of confidence that if price moves up here to this area, that's a sign of health. So I can mark that with a little green dot and just be looking for that. If I see pricing building up, I might expect price to go to 65, 0.65. If it goes above 65, I might be looking for my next health above there, and then even possibly looking to hit my next phantom resistance up there. So borrow this one. Okay. Here's the phantom resistance. Here. Okay. Along this path. Let me shrink these down a little bit. Put them on their lines. Alright, so those are going to be new map places I can find those prices for, give them labels, and use those to help me in the future. Alright, let's look at Lisa's crypto. I don't need a price label for that because it's already there. Okay, let's look at Lisa's crypto. And from here we can adjust some of our existing maps, performing the core cluster technique. She wants to look at a crypto called CVT Cybertrain. Lisa, are you there? I got one here. Cybervein I got. Oh yeah, Cybervein. Why am I saying Cybertrain? 006 on MEX. Okay. Let's see if we can put this technique to use. Okay. Let's start by trying to identify the energy center here. Let's start with that peak. Here it looks like it was on April 2021 as well. A lot of the markets went down in April. We're going to go to, since we're on the 1 week, we'll go higher to a 2 week. Same area. This time I'm not going to label the days, I'm just going to stack them. Here's 1 month. With the 2 month, it's actually lower now. And the 3 month, it's a little higher. That one I will label. Let's go now to a 2 day. It's a way of identifying a majority of the pressure. Here, this one I will label. And finally, 1 day. And then we'll also give an intraday example, by the way, like hourly charts, before we close. Okay. So we got a cluster range from down here to up here. Okay, so that's going to be our core cluster range. Now we got some that are all on the bottom, bunch that are still on the top, and some that are on the middle. So in this case, we don't have a clearly defined, we have a very large range for this core cluster. So we're just going to use the block technique, where we just draw and capture as much energy as possible in this area. When I draw a highlighter, don't be afraid to use a thick highlighter. This is an art. Now some of the last concepts I wanted you to remember about this after we make our observations is that sword method is an art. Art is about sharing heart. The heart of the matter is what essence really is. Essence cuts through the noise and shares the heart of the matter. There's a lot of things that obscure what's really happening, but when you're looking at art, you're able to use an abstract way to tell a meaningful message. You don't have to share every little detail and centrally overload. You can simplify things to a cartoon, to a black and white. You can blur the backgrounds and just focus on what you're really trying to say. Art is about sharing heart, and even art is in the word heart. Okay? And I'm using that because when we're doing sword method, we don't want to get so caught up on just like rules that we lose sight of the essence. So one of those things to bring it back to essence and help, in addition to HB or hidden valor, we're going to be adding chord cluster as part of this technique. Okay, so now we identified the chord cluster range. Maybe I'll borrow some of these. Okay, let's use this peak right here, and let's identify that one. Okay, we're going to use a similar technique. Since I'm on it 1 day, I'll go up this time. Here's 1 day, 2 day, same cluster. Let's go to the 1 week and 2 week. 1 week, and then after 2 weeks it stops being a peak. But it's there. 2 week being a higher time frame. 1 month. Okay, and after that there's not that many candles. But if we want to, 2 month, it's the same. Now the higher time frame is approximately the month. We have 1 month, 2 week, 2 months core cluster here in that area, and then we have the 1 day, 2 day, 1 week in this area. So we actually have 2 clusters. Okay, let me just add that to the text. In this example, we have 2 sets of clusters. The higher time frames on bottom and lower time frames on top. Okay. When drawing these, if I'm drawing on a monthly time frame, I might want to connect the angles like this in that area. And so therefore on a larger time frame, I know there's a certain type of health that may be starting to appear. The problem with this one, and why this may not be effective for this 2 month chart, is because there's just 2 candles and a drop. But there are a lot of candles that is before that. So if that's all you have, if that's a peak, that's all you got, then that's all you got. As it is, the candles should start showing health, and we actually see that. Once we moved into this part, the candles are also drifting. They're having a harder time falling like they were before, right? They were falling. Health appeared, and they're not falling as easy. In fact, the first 2 went up in a long time, and then even here, we're not making any new lows. Make sense? Okay. Now, if we go to they don't really help us trading anything shorter term. So if we go back down to our daily chart now, and just say we're intraday trading, we're going to use a different angle. We're going to use that higher core cluster up there, that top blue one, rather than this blue one down here. Okay, this may give us a more immediate result. So I want to adjust my line to pass through that section. I want to pass through that little section here. Okay, makes sense? If I'm trying to use this to take more accurate intraday trades, and I want to make sure that this is in that zone. Okay, so if I'm doing core cluster to core cluster, that's probably going to be more accurate as drawing. And it is demonstrated in the fact that after I did and connected to this zone here, that's my CC, this was my verification. That needs to be purple. Okay, that's my verification. I may have wanted to take that trade if I see a round structure, especially underneath the flat area on the higher time frame. I might say I might want to take that trade to the downside because price is resisting against my main line. I would also look for health to appear above that line, but that's not what happened. Okay, if I see this, I can say I might be looking for some weakness. If anything, if I wanted a confirmation, I could take my last up angle, the up move, right, and then take the trade there. So I can pay those prices and short it, or I can pay these prices and short it. Okay, makes sense? This is how we can use core cluster to identify a more accurate angle for us and a more accurate health. Let's use that one to identify that second point of health in addition to the monthly, because if all we had was the daily, we want to use that, right? But using this daily, we can say, hey, look, there was some health that was appearing here. And what do we have? Round structure and an up move. Okay, now for Lisa's sake, I want to point out there is round structure here along that angle. Very noisy, and this really helps when you have lots of noisy candles. So that's a health. That's going to be a health right there. Price is rounding and building on top of that. So that would be the first health. Lisa probably caught that. She's pretty good with the charts. Because this is a peak and this is a round structure, our energy centers are here and here. There's another verification right there. Weakness appears here. Okay. Now Lisa's wondering, what do I do next about this? Since we did come into health, we're going to identify the next peak in addition to that area that we identified last time over here. Now that we're on health, we came down, we're going to identify this last area here as a peak. I'm going to do that really quick for Lisa. And I think that's about all that we have time for today. Here's one day. Oh, I wanted to give an intraday example. Somebody give me one more crypto. Okay, so the 2 week gives us area down here. 1 month gives us here. 1 week gives us here. So this area up here is primarily going to be the core cluster. So if we're drawing in this zone, we'd want to use that area as our next main energy center area. We can do this one to that one, this one to that one, and we can also do the main one, which is primarily what we're going to do next. Okay, encompassing this one, we're still in the down move. This is where the next health is going to be. We do that cluster to cluster here. I'm going to give you these two angles and two different colors. Okay. All right. So we can read the health. It should be there. Approximately. Since the core cluster is here, we need to be here before we're really permitted to be in a buy zone. a buy position. We really need to be here, and we're passing through these. Now, however I slice it and dice it, whether I'm looking here, I'm still underneath. I'm not permitted to take any healthy buy trades. If I just take the last acceleration of health, it's still far out. So I actually have two areas of health to be in first. Number one here, and number two here, above this blue line and above these two, approximately. I'm just going to average them out to the green zone. Okay? Of the trade, we hunt the up move. In a downtrend, we hunt the up move. Our up move just happened, so we're looking for CVT to come down. Until health appears, we're able to take some more down trades. This is a monthly chart, so I'm going to go back to the weekly. As it is, I don't want to be in this crypto right now. We're forming resistance against that line as it is, and we're making the shape, and I bet this is a weekly chart. Yeah, I almost bet on a daily chart we're actually up, making the up curve as well. I should confirm that. Yep, we sure are. See? So over here, you're going to see prices. When we're there, we're going to see more lower prices. Okay? That's how that works. All right. Anyone else, my friends, for questions regarding this technique? I promised I was going to show you an intraday chart example. So give me a crypto that I can do this on. Ian wants to look at Heart. Okay, I don't know if this will work for Heart. It might be if it has a large enough market cap. Okay, so let's start with a peak from, how about this peak here? That's more of a bigger example. I want an intraday example. Okay, yeah, we'll do this area here. How about that? And we'll start there. So this is how we do it intraday. The daily is powerful, yes, I know. But if we're intraday traders, there's the daily, here's the 12-hour, here's the 6-hour, here's the 3-hour. Where's the core cluster for this one? Absolutely right there. This one's a very small block. Okay? Does it work like a flat? Absolutely. Look at that. Okay? Powerful, right? Powerful technique you guys might be able to apply right away. Okay? To help you read, understand, draw price maps. Okay? Daily, 1 day, 12-hour, 6-hour, 3-hour, and 1 hour. Yeah, and 3-hour. So that's why I stop. Powerful. That's our CC. And this is our flat. That's your core. If you see cores responding to the flats either on the bottom or at the top, pay attention. Pay attention. All right. So now we have a core cluster here. What about the core cluster here? Let's go from reverse. Is it really here at the 3-hour or is it somewhere else? Let's find out. 3, 6, it's a little lower. Do we view this as a very big range? Sorry, 6, we're going to go 12. 1 day. And let's go to 1 hour as well. From that 3, we'll go to 1. I didn't do it because I'm showing you intraday stuff. How to do this intraday. 1 hour all the way. And if I just start at a 4, if I'm looking at the core cluster in here, I want to view this as a range because it's somewhere on the bottom and somewhere on the top. So I'm going to make that more of a wider range. All right. Now when drawing these angles together, I'm going to probably draw the angle something. Oops. And you can do this one of two ways. I'm going to show you the first way, and I'm going to show you the way I don't like to do, but it's really effective. So if I draw an angle between these two angles, I'm going to have a more accurate angle. Okay? Here, price is rejecting right there. I have two energy centers. 1, 2, this is a 4-hour chart. For Heart, at the moment, we are pressing up against the top. that is generally where we're going to look for a reversal. Now, will it reverse? We need confirmation for that, but this is where I want to look for. So if I was going to buy heart, I may not want to buy it right now because we're at a top. And we're probably going to come back down. This is the area where we'd be looking for that. Prices breaking above here may see us to the next highest areas. But as it is, I don't want to take the trade until I have more of a confirmation. For me, I would like something like maybe to enter this territory next, and that's where I would take my short. Otherwise, we're probably going to go down just as it is, but I don't feel comfortable taking that until the next health happens. Because technically, just in this area, I'm in an uptrend. But it is a type of trade I would take because we're still in the overall in a larger downtrend. Okay, we're still in this larger downtrend. So I'm hunting this move for when it's weak. I'm looking anxiously. Are we going to enter the weakness? And then we can take the trade. Okay, but also if I'm going to be just shorting here, I would want to have a more stronger reason just to take that trade. Otherwise, I don't want to buy right there. That's definitely where I probably want to take profit. If I had some heart and I was bearish on using other analysis, I may want to take profit there. But as it is, using this core cluster technique, you guys can get really good at identifying where those correct energy centers are. All right. That's going to be the conclusion of the lesson. Okay. Next lesson is going to be HB1, HB2, parabolic flat revisited, and that's going to be next week. That's Unit 2, Part B. And then after that, next month, we're going to be covering under step-ups, sword cuts, and thunder cuts. All right.